Hi, my name is Luke Homan, founder and CEO of Contenio, and in this video, I'm going to show you how you can tailor an existing framework to better meet your needs. Now, once you've been using Weave for a while, you will enjoy using the public frameworks, and those public frameworks come pre-built with all of the information that you need to use effectively. Now, the standard speedboat within Weave has 3 regions to capture the placement of the anchors: somewhat bad, bad, and really bad. What this means is that as participants are using this forum, they're putting anchors onto the boat, and the placement of those anchors indicate how bad a problem is, naturally putting the worst problems at the bottom. But let's say that you work for a software company that is making expense management software, and you'd like a little bit more information from your participants on the different phases of the workflow associated with processing expenses. At the same time you're engaging in improvements, you might want to understand what things are going well so that you can make sure that you don't disrupt the positive aspects of your system. So we want to add 2 kinds of regions. The first is regions that are associated with workflow, and the second are regions that are associated with things that are going well. What we're targeting is a workflow region group with 3 regions. 1 region for preparing, 1 region for processing, and 1 region for disbursements. The second region group that we want to create is knowing if something is going well. How good is something going? And we could say that items closer to the boat are really good, and items farther from the boat but above the water are good. Now, by placing items within the forum on the newly enhanced framework, I can get more information. I'll be able to say, this is a preparing anchor, or this is something that's really good about my disbursements. Let's see how to tailor a framework now in Weave. To start tailoring a framework in Weave, I need to select the framework I want to tailor. So I'm going to go to the Frameworks tab, and I'm going to go ahead and search for Speedboat. And I can see that there are 3 variations of Speedboat. 1 with an integrated Kanban framework, the second, which is Speed Plane, which is the same metaphor but using a plane, and the third on the far right is the actual Speedboat that I want to use. I'm going to go ahead and click Instant Start, and I'm immediately placed into a collaborative forum. Now I've got anchors that I can add, and I can see here in the region group that I have my how bad region group. What I want to start with is the region group for workflow. To add a region, I'm going to click on the square region drawing tool. Now you'll see that there's 2 region drawing tools, a pen that lets you create free-formed regions and a square that lets you create squares. I'm going to click on my square, click once to get an anchor point and move it where I want, and the second one is to click a second anchor point. And now I'm just going to go ahead and move that down here. When I'm done, I hit Finish, and I'm going to say that this is my preparing, but I don't want to put this region inside the How Bad region group. I want to create a new group, and I'm going to call this Workflow. Now, stylistically, I like to put a little question at the end of the name of my region group, because that is often an indication of soliciting information from the user about where they want an item placed. So I go ahead and create, and I can see that in my workflow, I now have preparing. Let's add a second. I click on the square. I click in the middle of the image. I then click again to create the square that I'm moving, and I'm going to kind of adjust it so it lines up. That doesn't have to be perfect. Your participants will put items where they want, but it needs to be close, but it doesn't have to be perfect. So I click Finish, and this is processing. I hit Create, and then finally I click on the square one more time, and I move my icon where I want, and I add my 3rd region in the new region group for post-processing. Now let's try this out. If I add an anchor, I can see that the workflow here says post-processing, and if I move down here, I can see that it says how bad, somewhat bad, to bad to really bad. And so this is my feedback. And I can see that in the list view, the additional region groups have been added automatically by Weave into the list view, and that information is automatically available in the Excel download. Now let's go back to the board, because I did want to add another region group about how good something might be. So I'm going to click on the region group icon, and this time I'm going to draw a particular shape. Now when I'm drawing a shape like this, I often will like to turn on all of the regions by clicking on the visibility icon. And by seeing all of the regions, I can kind of make sure I'm drawing the one I want to add in the right location. So now I'm going to click on my pen, and I'm going to click each time to get a dot. Now you'll notice that as I click these, as I make these clicks, Weave is creating a polygon automatically for me. And that polygon keeps track of where I'm putting items. Now, I'm not quite right. I wanted to actually put the polygon to outline the boat for the really good item. So I'm going to move the start of the polygon over there. And now I'm going to go back and continue to click on different items or different parts of the image. And I'm just kind of lightly tracing the image. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be precise. It has to be close so that the participants can get items in the right locations. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that. And I'm going to say this is the really good region. I need a new region group. So I'm going to pull this down, add a new group, and say, well, how good? And I'm going to do that one more time. Now, when I click on how good, I can see that this is the outline. And I kind of want to ring that outline, which is a slightly more complex shape. But if you take your time and just click with the pen tool, you'll find that you'll be able to create any shape that you want. So I click on the pen tool, and I start by kind of tracing the part of the image that captures where I want to be placing the items that are good, as opposed to the items that are really good. I'm just kind of clicking along, enjoying the process. And when I'm finished, I have an outline above the boat. I click on the Finish button, and I can say that this is good. Now, when I add my anchor, I can add my anchor above the line, and it says it's workflow post-processing and how good it's good or really good. Okay, now that I can see that I've added an anchor above the boat, well, that really doesn't make sense because anchors are things that slow the boat down. What I want to now do is add an item from my item palette that's a propeller. And the propeller are the things that are good that make the boat go fast. So I click on my add in my item palette, and I can see that there's a whole bunch of images within Weave that I can use. And of course, I can upload new images. I scroll down, and I can see a propeller icon. I click Done. Now I've got propeller icons that I can add above the boat to say this is good. And I can go back to my feedback icon and change its type from an anchor to a propeller because it indicates that it's something above the line. When I'm finished, I have a completely tailored framework ready to be used with my participants, and I've tailored it in a way that meets my needs.